Yo, what's up guys? How are you guys doing? Hope you guys are doing well. Well, we all know who this guy is. So it is none other than Rishi, the upcoming popular YouTuber. So welcome back friends. Obviously that kind of high energy speaking in front of camera, that's not me. So he's a famous YouTuber, and recently he gotten into a big hoo-ha with Leapvista over his videos that he posted. And so before we kind of dive deep into all the details of this case and what I think of it, first let me kind of publicly declare what is my first impression of him. So my first impression of Rishi, right, is that he is quite down to earth, according to a mutual friend we know. When I look at this case, I heard about this news, he's gonna fight that issue. I felt that he was taking a huge reputational risk as well as a monetary risk in order to kind of, and what I think, raise awareness of this issue. Even more so that I kind of realized that he only raised $20,000. So I think a lot of people would think that 20,000 is a lot, but in my mind, I feel like why stop at 20? If he ever has a need for more, he's gonna have a hard time raising the money. If he raises extra, he can always refund them. So in my mind, I was thinking, wow, he is bold, and I like that. I like that he wants to be very upfront, transparent, and honest about what's gonna happen. But yeah, so before we begin, I just want to kind of let you guys know how I think, so that when I share what I feel, you guys take it with a pinch of salt. So today in this video, we're gonna dissect all this hoo-ha. What is it about? How I think it could be a scam, and how it definitely could be legit, right? So please bear in mind, I am not a legal expert. I am just sharing my opinions on the dollars and cents of this big hoo-ha. So if that sounds good to you, be sure to watch till the end and give that subscribe button a little tap on the back. First up, let us look at what the definition of a scammer is. So a scammer, according to the dictionary, is someone who kind of takes money from you without giving you anything at all, like no value, right? So you just take the money and run away. So that's kind of a scammer in essence. So if someone kind of gives you something which is not a lot of value but charges a high price for it, in business terms it's called a premium. So of course this kind of takes a lot of people off, especially what's happening in the guru scene. They give something of, according to a lot of people, they feel it's a lot of low value item, but they charge a huge price. So whether that's a scam or a premium, that's a debate altogether. But in Rishi's case, how can Rishi actually be a scammer, right? Because in his crowdfunding page, he promised that the crowd funds that he raised is going to be used in the potential legal battle against Leapvista. So the scenario in which he can become a scammer is in which he does not pursue the battle and takes the money and leaves, right? So let us look at what he has achieved in his campaign so far and slowly dissect bits and pieces of this whole scenario to derive, is he likely gonna be on the grey side or on the more proper legitimate side? Okay, so what he has achieved is that he has managed to reach out to over 1,000 backers, and that's insane by the way, and raised $20,000 in 2 days. And according to him, he paused the campaign because he wanted to be accountable to all his backers.
Clearly, there are reasons as to why I stopped the entire campaign, and obviously being accountable is one of them.
So what his achievement means basically is that there are a lot of people in Singapore, I believe in Singapore, that are experiencing a lot of grievances from this program, from who Rishi is going up against. And these backers, right, it seems that they really trust Rishi. And here's the math behind why I think they really trust Rishi. If we look at the numbers, right, $20,000, 1,000 backers, it means on average, each person will donate about $20. But given that the minimum is $1, and I would foresee that most people would donate very little, $1 to $5, that means that there are quite a significant number of backers that donated I don't know, $100 or more maybe. So that means that people are really vested into this. Alright, so let me just adjust this mic, make sure it's all good so that I have a backup audio just in case something goes wrong. So let us talk about the videos that Rishi recently took down, right? After all, he kind of publicly said that he wanted to, fight this case. So why take down the video if your whole objective is to fight, to keep them around? Make sense? My take is that he probably, and by the way, this is completely a speculation on my part, so in my mind, I think it's because the lawyers advised that this would affect the potential damages that he might face. And after speaking to the lawyers, he probably realized that the potential damages could be extremely steep. So let me run through the numbers in a little bit. So let's look at the potential damages. Yeah, so there are various factors that affects what could the potential damages be in the event that this progresses into a lawsuit and then Rishi loses. So quite a few things that must happen, and basically it's more of downside protection. So in terms of damages, Seedly made a very nice table to kind of describe what are some of the various factors. In my mind, when I look at Leapvista's business model, right, each customer is gonna be like $2,000. So the question is, in the event that Rishi keeps his video up, how many customers would it cost me? So that's the very first question you could ask. So I think it would be reasonable for, in the event that Rishi loses this case, that the judge would say, hey, you should pay up potential losses in lost revenue, and you know how much that is? $2,000 per customer. There's just 10 customers, it's $20,000, right? So his video is very viral. Like, I think I remember it was 200 over 300,000 views. So it is therefore a lot more logical to kind of take it down for downside protection. Again, bear in mind, I am not legally trained, so this is all a speculation on my part, so please do not say that, hey, Rishi said this, because it is what I think. So how can Rishi be legitimate? Well, he can be in the event that this progresses into a legal lawsuit and he takes up the defense, alright? So what do I mean by that? That sounds a little bit confusing. Let me kind of break it down and explain in a little bit. So Rishi is not quite doing the offensive, he's actually doing the defense. And that is really where the cease and desist letter, as well as getting sued, that line needs to be drawn very clear. So when someone sends you a cease and desist letter, right, it is not legally binding. It's kind of like a threat or a warning that I'm going to sue you, or I can sue you if you continue this, but if you do something that I want, I will not pursue this case. Something like that. So it's usually written by a lawyer, but I think one key fact of a cease and desist letter is that it kind of gives you like a preempt. So you can't say that, oh, I don't know about it, I didn't hear of it and suddenly I got sued. But that is very different from, I want to sue you. You know what I mean? I haven't sued you, I kind of gave you a warning that I'm about to sue you. So whether this becomes a legal battle really depends on the person sending the letter, whether they want to pursue this further. So in Rishi's case, he said that, hey, I'm gonna just not listen and I'm gonna continue creating a little bit of discomfort for the person sending the letter. So at this juncture, technically Rishi has not fulfilled his promises yet, because it's contingent on the fact that it becomes a legal lawsuit. Make sense? But the question is, what if it doesn't become a lawsuit? Does this mean, this means that Rishi still has the 20,000 with him, right? And does he just get to kind of keep the money in his pocket? And what happens to the entire crowdfunding campaign promise? So hypothetically, let us just imagine for a moment this escalates and becomes a legal lawsuit, even though I think it's very unlikely because the cost for both parties is extremely high. Let us quickly estimate how much would this legal lawsuit cost. Would 20,000 actually be sufficient? How much time would it take? So a quick Google search revealed that this can easily cost between $37,000 to $60,000 in just legal fees, or just lawyers. And that is not including, the commencing of the lawsuit in the high courts, which cost like $500, the application of a summary judgment, which cost additional $500, and every affidavit attracts a minimum fee of $50, and each page of the exhibit incurring another $2. In addition, electronic filing fees with service charges have to be paid, so he has to pay a lot more than just. And how much he pays in legal fees really depends on the location of the firm, the size of the firm, the reputation of the firm, the complexity of the matter. Basically, so many factors get into play to how much lawyers would charge on top of the legal lawsuit fees, on top of the potential losses in the event that he loses. In my opinion, $20,000 is really not going to be enough to cover anywhere near the potential legal battle in the first place. And just to give some perspective, let us look at some of the legal cases or lawsuits that have happened in Singapore. So for this, right, I'm just going to assume, because I really don't know what a potential lawsuit is going to be, I'm going to assume that it's going to be a defamation kind of lawsuit, right? So in Singapore, we have had the opportunity to experience 5 legal lawsuits, at least as far as I know. And Seedly, again, thank you Seedly if you're reading this, they've made a beautiful table to kind of summarize how much it cost, or how much the legal or defamation lawsuit cost. And here it is. Yeah, so now you see where 20,000 stands in all of this. But of course, again, if you look at the table in Seedly, most of the people that are fighting against is the Prime Minister or Ministers of Singapore. So naturally, this is going to be extremely expensive, because if you remember what are some of the factors, reputation is one, and of course Prime Minister's reputation is extremely important, so hence the damages is a lot. But if you're looking at like a significantly less internationally renowned a person that is not like the Prime Minister, then of course we are expecting something a lot less. And in this case, let us look at something that's a little bit more familiar. So of course, I come from a sports background, so I know the sporting scene a little bit better. And recently, I think it's recent or last year there was a defamation lawsuit of local athlete So Ray Yong. So I don't know him personally, but he did kind of publicly post how much this legal lawsuit cost. So in this case, it was $11,000 in legal fees that the person that lost the case had to pay on top of their own legal fee. So we assume that their legal fee is going to cost the same. So that's like $22,000 already. Naturally, this means that this $20,000 that Rishi raised is definitely or almost definitely not going to be enough. So hence, you can see why I speculated he took the video down in hopes of reducing potential damages down the line, damage protection, fire control, because the fees really stack up. But wait, let's not jump the gun, right? Because we are assuming this escalates into a legal lawsuit. But what if it doesn't? Then nothing happens? Really? So here's the thing. In the event that there was no legal lawsuit, it was initially unclear what would happen, right? But Rishi on Monday made a public statement. He made a public commitment that he stated that he will refund the money to everyone in the event that this does not progress into a legal lawsuit. So,
But I will make a specific video showing me refunding every single one of the 1,108 people.
So as you can see, that in my opinion is something that is extremely transparent. So I kind of got to give him hats off to that. I'm not exactly sure what happens to the fees that he has incurred before this progresses into a lawsuit, because right now he's probably already consulting lawyers and getting advice. So again, I cannot predict exactly what will happen and comment a lot about the ethics of this case, but what I can do is kind of talk about or analyze the opportunity cost on Rishi's plate. So from my mind, you can already see 20,000. And not to mention, would he, people have been speculating, would he scam and take this money and run away? So let us look at the opportunity cost on his plate. Alright, so first up is the reputation and the business cost. So Rishi has a thriving YouTube channel that is kind of making, in my mind, an estimated amount is about $200 in just AdSense alone. It's probably going to make a lot more in potential brand deals and etc. down the line. So would someone risk $20,000 for a business that can earn over $2,000 a year and is growing rapidly? Probably not. And now let's look at a second scenario, which is the use case of $20,000, because after all, if it's a huge sum of money, it can potentially make things very grey and very uncomfortable. But let's not talk about ethics. Let's talk about the use case of $20,000 here. So at this juncture, in my opinion, if you have $20,000 in Singapore, what kind of luxuries could you afford? Well, to be honest, you can't really afford much because Singapore is one of the most expensive cities in the world. So it is not even sufficient for the average wedding in Singapore. So you can't get married even if you took this money. You can't pay for a COE for the car, the certificate of entitlement just to buy a car. You can't even pay for that. So you also can't buy a BTO, a 2-room BTO flat in Singapore unless you get government grant, of course. But so what all this means is that by breaking down the opportunity cost of $20,000, it is, in my opinion, very, very, very highly unlikely that he is incentivized to, just choke up the money and just fly away to somewhere else, because the money cost on his end is really high. So at the end of the day, if we take a step back and look, who are the real winners of this case? Well, it is none other than you, the viewers, So by taking arms to fight this legal case, basically what Rishi has done is kind of gave all of us viewers an opportunity to appreciate the nuances of how businesses try to charge high prices for customers. Sometimes it may not be valuable for you to buy certain courses. So he kind of raised that awareness, so you get to learn. That's number one. And for the donors, it provides them a voice. So basically, some of the donors probably have some sort of grievances or are unhappy with how they've been treated or felt in the past, and therefore they essentially have Rishi be their voice, so that Rishi can speak up for them. And on their end, those donors, they don't have to take the risk that Rishi is taking on. So it's kind of the viewers, the donors that really benefit. And of course, not to mention the lawyers, they benefit a lot because the legal fees, yeah, very expensive, but they do good work. So at the end of the day, Rishi and Leapvista both would have already paid a huge sum of money even before they kind of bring this into a legal lawsuit. And yet, they still have to expect that this could potentially snowball in the event that this escalates further. So would anybody want to drag this on? Nah, I don't think so, but we'll see what happens. And again, at the end of the day, would you call Rishi a scammer? I don't know why some people did. I honestly think he has been very honest and transparent so far, but let me know what you think down in the comment section below. And if you find this video useful, please help me to share and spread this message so that more people can understand the nuances and implications of this case. And I'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.